What the Tech is brought to you by Wink, the world's only personalized wine club. Right now, Wink is offering listeners $22 off your first order when you go to trywink.com/WTT. That's trywink.com/WTT.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian, and with me, as always, is Paul Therod. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good. How are
you? So I got a lot of comments as to what happened to the show. There's been no show for 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, we took off because I generally try to take off when Paul, his first week of travel, because that's kind of my day off. And last week, we attempted to record a show 3 times. Each time we started recording, and each time there was a technical issue, and we just gave up midway through. We said, you know what, this is good. Even if we chopped this up and pieced it together, it was so terrible that it wasn't even worth considering putting out. I know a lot of people were asking, where are you guys? What happened? Here we are.
Do you remember what the problem was? Because oddly enough, since that, I tried to record I did record Windows Weekly last week, and there was something wrong with my headset.
Yes, I believe it is your headset. Is that a new headset?
Yeah.
Okay. What was happening? You were getting cut out?
I don't know. The audio cut out, and then it just disappeared.
Yeah, that was exactly the same problem.
Oh, so I guess it was me.
I guess it was you. Paul was adamant that the problem was not on his side. You know what I think it was?
Well, I
think it was the USB for whatever reason. The USB was just stopped working. You could hear me, but the mic aspect of the USB connection stopped working.
Yeah, I think I've traveled with that headset too much. It just probably got crushed in the bag or something.
How come you don't travel with those ATRs, the ATR 2100?
What's that?
That mic I sent you. Remember that? The cheap podcast mic? You might want to consider that.
I don't remember it. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I just
God,
honestly, the thing at some point I tried these and someone said they sounded okay, and I thought I would just use them. But honestly, the audio quality on the headset I was using really wasn't that great.
No, it wasn't great at all.
So I'm going to figure something out.
This
is better. Yeah.
Not great.
But not great. Okay.
But not great. But I'm also a obsessive with audio quality. So
I don't mind if it's not great every once in a while. I for me, traveling light is important, but show me what we don't have to do this now, but show me what the microphone you're talking about looks like. I'll go look for it. I have it if you send it.
Yeah, I'll send you a link and to it. I can send you another one if you lost it.
No. I'll definitely have it if you send it.
Typical Paul, doesn't listen, loses things. I'm always having to clean up after you. You throw your laundry, you miss the hamper. This is what it's like with us. Guys, we do have a lot to talk about, actually. I'm going to talk about this today. I'm finally giving in. I'm buying a 4K TV. I know it's crazy.
You don't have a 4K TV already?
I do not have a 4K TV already. I've held off.
What are you, a barbarian? What's wrong with you?
And I'm going to tell you why I held off on it. I have a very logical answer as to why I don't have a 4K TV. We'll talk about that. Before we continue, obviously, I want to talk about a new sponsor of ours. And this is something that I'm very excited about. Paul and I are giant lushes. I don't know if you know this about us. We love wine.
It's really the closest bond that we have.
It's one of them. Actually, you know what? It's our love for gossiping. Paul, I love to gossip, and Paul and I get whenever we drink, we just go into tirades about other people, and I just like watching Paul get animated. But wine is one of our loves. I'm a huge wine. The amount of wine we go through in my house, and it's not just me and my wife drinking. It's just we entertain a lot, and we have somewhat become. I'm not going to say experts, but very knowledgeable when it comes to wine. Paul and I, by the way, we had a 1-hour discussion one time about Montepulciano and our love for Montepulciano. When my wife found out that Paul's a fan of Montepulciano, she's like, I need to talk to him about this. I want to know what his favorite is. I want to know which one. So we really like wine. We have a great sponsor here, and it's called Wink. And what they are, they're the world's first and only personalized wine club. So what they do is they curate it by the top winemakers and growers from around the world, and they send it directly to you in a box. Imagine that. You get, the education of discovering new wines and learning about the bottle you love. It's personalized. They send you wine that's personalized for your palate and taste through a palate uh, quiz. So it recommends if you like dry or you like a sweeter wine, you like a fruity one, a nuttier one. They really do a great job at this, and it's high quality and value. Their bottles are $13, which normally they would retail 20 plus. So you're getting a nice deal with this. The wine's delivered straight to your door, and they have a great offer. Right now, Wink is offering listeners $22 off your first order when you go to trywink.com/WTT. That's trywink.com/WTT. This is actually something that a lot of our viewers will enjoy. When they approached us to talk about this, and they're like, "You think it'll work on a tech show?" I'm like, "Oh my god, will it? Have you heard us talk about wine? We get yelled at constantly about we talk about wine and beer and just it's more like a I always say this is a conversation about technology with two guys at a bar. And
Yep.
this kind of fits it perfectly. Go to trywink.com. That's trywink.com/WTT to get $22 off your first order. I want to thank them for supporting the show.
Mm.
Enough wine talk, Paul. We've heard enough about wine from you. Enough
Well, actually,
whining.
real quick,
Yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah.
It is interesting to me that people in the tech industry or people who are interested in tech, there's a huge percentage of them who get involved with things like making music or making, beer or spirits or wine. And I know a bunch of guys who are in one or more of those who are tech guys too, And so I actually think there's probably a reason for that kind of a crossover, but there is something about technical people that they tend to be interested in those areas as
I
well.
think it's the obsessiveness.
Yeah,
I
probably.
have one of these things where I go down rabbit holes and I try to get into stuff like I've made beer, I've made wine, and it's
Hmm.
just like a challenge for me more than anything else. If I could
Sure.
do it, if it's something I could enjoy doing, I think that's why. And same thing with technology. Technology is a challenge. If you're in IT, you're facing these challenges every single day.
Yep. Yep.
So, talking about technology, Windows 10 confirms cloud restore option.
Yeah, Microsoft did.
Yeah.
So last week they leaked a build inadvertently that, had a new start menu that is very much like the start menu that I and Brad and some others had seen in leaks of Light OS, right?
You're
This kind
you're
of
talking
Chromebook-like
about
system.
the start menu without the live tiles,
Yes.
active tiles.
And not just the fact that there are no live tiles, but just the kind of layout and look of it is very reminiscent of the leaks we've seen from Light OS, and so that's kind of interesting. Light OS obviously is based on Windows 10. We'll see how that evolves, but that was the big public-facing thing that anyone who installed the build would notice this. It's one of the first things you do. You open Start, and you're like, oh my god, this thing's different. But once that leaked build had been out in the world for a few days, people were kind of investigating it, and I guess there was some language in there about a cloud restore. And so if I don't want to go down this complete list of ways that you can restore and recover from Windows 10 when you have problems, but let's suffice to say there are a lot, a lot of different options. But most people are probably familiar with Reset This PC, for example, that lets
Yeah.
you fully reset or do a refresh where you keep your data and your store apps. But there are others, Fresh Start and recovery environment and so forth. There are a lot of different things, but I haven't looked at this leak build, but based on my understanding of how Microsoft does things, if you have a Surface PC, you already have a cloud-based way to recover your PC. It works a lot like the cloud-based recovery does on Mac OS, if you're familiar with the Mac, how Apple does that.
Yeah.
And what it basically means is you can boot into the firmware and choose that option from a text menu, and it will download the latest image for your computer from the internet, you sign into Wi-Fi and so forth,
But
and
here's a
then
question. If
installs
on
it.
the
Yep.
Surface,
Hmm.
because I've done this once on a Surface, I haven't. I can't remember. Is it the latest build or is it the build that your computer came with?
Yeah, it's that's a good question. I'm not actually sure. So one of the problems with the matrix of recovery tools is what you get differs depending on which one you use. And on the Surface cloud-based recovery, I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've done it. I'm gonna guess and say it's. I shouldn't guess. I'm not. I don't know. You could make a case for it being either one, right?
Yeah.
Um, Microsoft does update the cloud-based recovery images for Windows as it is because you can download an ISO, for example. And if you install the latest version of Windows 10 and then do a reset, you're going to reset to the latest version of Windows 10, right? Not the version that your computer came with. If you do a fresh start, let me think about that. Yep, that one will also do the latest version, whichever one it
So
is.
I don't
So
know. I don't know if on the Mac side they've changed that, but it
mhm,
was always the build. It was always the version of
that's right.
Mac OS that your computer came with, and
That's
not
right.
the latest one. And I always said,
Which was a
you know,
huge pain in the ass
it is a huge pain in the
because
ass because I'll give you an
yep,
example. I like to do a clean install. I'm one
yep,
of these people that I hate doing upgrades still. I like to, if I'm blowing this thing away, I want it to be
hmm
just a clean build of none of the garbage there. So I
yep,
still have to do that, make a bootable drive and put the ISO on there, rip the ISO straight from the file,
yeah.
drop
So
it in.
okay, so the you can actually do that in Windows 10 right now, right? You don't have to use this cloud-based thing that's coming later.
Yeah.
So Windows 10 has an option called Fresh Start. It's available from Windows Security for some reason, but what it basically does is it goes out to the internet, grabs the latest version of Windows 10, downloads it, and then you install from there. The reason you might want to do that is because PC makers put a lot of crapware on there. You might not want the antivirus software or whatever it is. You just want a clean, stock version of Windows 10. Um, the thing that you're describing, the thing that you mentioned, and the Surface tool that I'm talking about is basically a bare metal solution, right? And so the idea there is that your computer is screwed up. Like you can't, it's not booting into Windows. Like you can't even get past the bio or the UEFI or whatever they call it these days. Um, the firmware essentially. So what this does is it lets you boot into the firmware, and then from there you can say, look, I want to do a cloud-based recovery. I'm going to guess and say, based on the way Microsoft does things, it almost certainly is the latest version, but I don't know that for a fact. I just don't remember, but I bet it is. And so this capability has been available to Surface PC owners for 2 or 3 years, probably, maybe more. And if I understand the leak, it looks like this feature is going to come to Windows 10, so anyone can use this. And so it's just another in a long list of recovery tools that Microsoft provides to Windows 10 users. And in this case, I believe it's for what I'll call a bare metal recovery.
Yeah. I think this is fine. This is just another option for
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
Most people won't care about it, but I think for a lot of people that do need something like this is important, especially if, for example, if you are going to do a Windows Lite, let's use that term, right?
hmm
And the hard drive is not large enough. Maybe it's a smaller device. You should have a cloud option for recovery because you're not going to store that image on that hard drive.
Yeah. Yep. That's
So
true.
this may be a good option. Uh,
Yep.
I So I want to talk about this before I forget, because I always say in the beginning of the show we're going to talk about something and I totally forget to talk about it.
Okay.
Paul was shocked to know I do not own a 4K TV,
Yeah.
and I have held off on buying a 4K TV for a number of reasons. One
Because you're
being
Amish.
because I'm Amish, yeah. Uh, ev- so I made the big mistake of
Yep.
buying two brand new TVs at the beginning of every TVs going 4K couple
Yeah.
years ago. So I could just not justify dumping these brand new Vizios.
Hmm.
Two Vizios and then one Samsung. I bought all these TVs in 1 year. And the
Sure.
reason why I did that is because there was not enough 4K content. HDR was not a thing on 4K TVs at that time. So
hmm
I was holding off. It wasn't standardized. We didn't have, the standard for HDR on the TVs. So now I've decided I'm going to buy a TV.
Okay.
And it's interesting how the perception of buying televisions have changed again. For a
Mm.
while, everybody was trying to buy that, not the greatest one on the market, but people were attempting to buy, a $1,500, $16 TV. That's
Mhm.
what people were purchasing. Now, the suggestions I'm receiving are TCL. Buy TCL,
Yeah.
they're great.
Yeah.
Buy TCL, they're great. Buy
Yep.
TCL, they're great.
And how
I'm
much you
I'm
talking though? Like 600, 800?
Yeah, it's like a couple $100. It's
Yeah.
not over the 1,000 mark, and people. So I bought my father a TCL, and I thought it was great for him. I'm looking at getting a Vizio.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm making the right choice with this Vizio. I'm buying the P series with their Quantum. It's not an
Now,
OLED. It's that
are you
QLED.
gonna buy this at, like, Costco or some kinda thing like that?
I'm gonna go to Best Buy.
Yeah, Best Buy, okay. Yeah, I
I
mean,
I've shopped the price. It's 11.99.
TVs, yeah, they're one of the TVs are one of those purchases you kinda wanna make in person, you know,
Yeah,
because
you
you
think
wanna have
so?
a place you can bring it back to,
If it
right?
yeah, because you can't ship it to Amazon.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost you. The other thing I learned is that on Amazon, you cannot
Mhm.
purchase a TV over 55 inches and have it delivered by them. It has to come with a freight company.
Oh, boy.
Did you know that?
No, but I would
I
never buy such a thing at Amazon anyway, it's too big. When we bought the last time we bought a TV, and I wanna say ours is 55, I bet, maybe 60, I don't remember the exact size, but it barely fit in our car,
Yeah, it's
you
gigantic.
know?
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
I guess it's a crossover, a station wagon type thing, so we were able to put the back seats down and everything, and, like, it barely fit.
Yeah, so I'm looking at getting a Vizio P
Mhm,
series Quantum 65 inch.
mhm,
It's $1,200,
yeah,
and it has AirPlay. Yeah, it has AirPlay. It has Chromecast built in.
mhm,
It's AirPlay too, and then
yep,
there are apps which I would never use. But it's interesting how this is important now. AirPlay 2 on a TV is an important feature to have, right?
yeah, um I have a couple of speakers that are AirPlay compatible, and I don't do a l I don't do, like, whole house stuff that way, but actually, that kinda stuff is really important. I'll say, just being here right now, I'm not using the AirPlay part of it. Well, actually, his TV doesn't have AirPlay here, but, he has Chromecast through his Samsung Smart TV, which I believe is, like, a generation older than the one I have,
Yeah.
which today is probably 3 years old, maybe? Um, but one of the really nice things about it is we can just kind of come here with instead of having to take over his devices, like I could go into his Apple TV or Roku or something and sign in with my account. I can just use my phone and cast. And so we've been watching, Netflix, for example, or YouTube over Chromecast to a smart TV, and it's kind of neat to be able to, to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what bothers me about this is that and so I cut cable couple years ago,
Yeah,
and I was using I mean I've tried all the services obviously, but for
sure.
the longest time I had YouTube TV. And when
Yep.
YouTube TV got cut from Amazon devices, I canceled the service because that's what I watch TV on. So what I've been doing is using other streaming services to view. Like I have access to USA Network, for example,
Hmm.
for wrestling. If I want to stream live to my TV, it doesn't work with Chromecast. I have to use Apple Play. I have to use Apple Play to
Yep.
stream it because Chromecast
Hmm.
support is not built in. Or I use
Sure.
another app to stream something, and Chromecast is enabled, but not Apple Play. I find it interesting that it's not both some of these applications, and I don't know if
Yeah.
that's sheer ignorance or that's by design to prevent you from using the other one.
Yep. I think it's some of both, right? So I'm not going to remember the exact example, but we had gotten rid of YouTube TV as well, and our uh, my sister and brother-in-law and their kids were over, and I don't remember the exact I don't remember the app. It was probably like the NFL Network app or something like that. So my brother-in-law had a subscription, and he could bring it up on his phone, but it wouldn't let him cast it to our TV.
Yeah.
And so in order to get this thing working, he actually had to install the app on the TV or the Roku or wherever we did it, and then sign in from there. And it was just a stupid kind of
Well,
a thing, but I'm
it's
sure it's a
interesting.
DRM protection thing.
I'm curious because especially for live content, right? Like I
Mhm.
know everything is if even let's say you could install the app and you could watch it, but a lot of the live content is prevented due to cable rights fees and things like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
A lot of technical stuff. But like FiOS for example, FiOS does not allow you, and this is interesting. So let's
Mhm.
say I use your FiOS, right? I have a FiOS account, and
Mhm.
I log in at your house to with my FiOS account, for example, to view whatever is on that FiOS app that I can live stream through my phone. It will
Yeah.
not allow me to watch live content if I'm connected to another Verizon device, another Verizon internet
Okay.
access if they don't have the cable service on their internet access.
All right. I mean,
But however, if I connect on Comcast or any other
Yeah, yeah,
provider,
yeah.
it'll allow me to stream, which is I'm like, "Wait a minute. You allow it on other services, but not your own?" You
There's gotta
know?
be there's gotta be something going on there that I can't quite figure out in my head, but they obviously have their reasons.
They have the reasons. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, other than sports, and we talk about this all the time, other than
Mhm.
sports,
Yep.
why do you need to watch live content? Obviously, the news, if you wanna watch news, which I don't wanna watch the news.
Nope.
Pluto like, things like Pluto TV exists that'll gives
You know,
you weird live content.
I mean, every once in a while, there'll be, like, an event, Game of Thrones, for example. So,
Yeah,
Game of Thrones, the final, season happened this past spring or summer, whenever it was, and we subscribed to HBO Now, so we could do that, and so it's kind of a big event thing. Like, I talked about Homeland in the past, final the last season of Homeland, we did that, we signed up for Showtime, the app, version or whatever. I was just thinking as you were talking, we still have HBO Now,
and
or
you can watch
HBO,
live
yeah, HBO
content
Now.
on HBO Now.
Yep, and we will probably keep that through the end of the month, and then when September comes, I think we'll probably get rid of it,
And then
and we'll go
resign.
back. What's that?
And then you resign when there's something else.
Yeah, I mean, so we actually, by the way, we actually have watched way more HBO, than I thought we ever like, we went back and rewatched all of Deadwood, for example, and we watched, all of Veep over again. We've actually watched a lot of HBO, but when the football season starts, we're gonna have to have someone to do that, and I think we're just gonna get TV. I think TV will be the way to go, so we can watch whatever's on each Sunday. So,
It is
so
interesting. Our
we'll
viewing
keep it,
habits,
4 months, whatever.
everybody's viewing habits have totally shifted, and it's no longer
Yeah.
about what's must see TV on Thursdays. It's about
No,
I
it's much. Sorry,
deeper. You're competing with everything.
it's
I
must binge TV, Andrew.
must binge TV. Yeah, so you have that.
You know.
But let's say, for example, like Veronica Mars is back. A lot of people are
Yeah.
very excited about Veronica Mars. I watched the whole
Yep.
thing. I actually thought it was done very well.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I don't know why I enjoy it. It's not my demo, but I really do enjoy that show.
Yeah.
Um, so it came back. I binge watched all 8 episodes, and I'm
Hmm.
done. But my I only have, let's say, 2 hours of TV time in a day or less, maybe
Sure.
sometimes
Yeah.
45
Sure.
minutes. I generally will watch stuff on YouTube. I have become one of those people that I use my
Yeah.
YouTube, and if you went back to a show from a couple years ago, I was adamant that I can never watch YouTube videos on a TV
uh,
because I like to click around, I like to see the side suggestions, and obviously the TV apps were not great at that time for them, but I tend to watch hours of YouTube videos on my TV, whether it's, a Joe Rogan clip of him interviewing some guy about aliens, or it's the history of the Corvette.
oh my
I
God.
watched this whole thing about how the whole design of the Corvette and the struggles within Chevy, General Motors at the time when the Corvette was coming out. I watched a 2-hour video on this.
Um,
I'm not watching
I,
cable.
w- I so I also watch a lot of YouTube. I don't. I maybe once a week I'll spend more than 30, 40 minutes. And it's usually one of those things like my wife is out, and I find myself in that kind of low attention span theater kind of deal. I'm trying to find this thing. You gotta watch this if I could just find it. Ah, jeez. Yeah, it's not coming up on my continue list for some reason. God, that's killing me. All right. Well, anyway, I I don't know. I had great reservations about getting rid of TV, and the thing is, I keep getting affirmation that this is like the right way to do things. Because like you were saying about the Veronica Mars show, I mean, I Orange is the New Black just came back. My son's out here is here now with us in Amsterdam, and he was telling me like the new season of Mindhunter is starting in late August or something. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's between that and the stuff I haven't watched yet, like the latest season of The Handmaid's Tale, which is on Hulu. Like, this is all the TV I need to watch for like the next month. Like this is it.
Yeah.
And then YouTube clips, for myself
So
personally. But when it's my wife
do,
and I,
do you feel your YouTube suggestions, the recommended, is accurate now? I feel like they've gotten a lot better at this. Because
you know what?
obviously, do you remember I made that joke about I went down a rabbit hole and all of a sudden I'm getting white supremacy
Yeah,
videos and
but it still
Holocaust
does
denier?
that.
It's
No, it
gotten
still does
so
that.
much better, and I spoke about this way before it was an issue when people were talking about it. You go down
I don't. No,
whole World War II video, and all of a sudden you're getting Holocaust
no,
deniership.
mine is still very much that, and
Is it?
I have a big problem with this because, like, for example, uh, there were a couple of movie trailers that came out recently that I wanted to watch, right? So one of them was like the new Top Gun movie.
Yeah.
One of them was the new Zombieland movie. And now I'm just scrolling through my YouTube there are like 4 Top Gun things in there. I don't want to watch anything about related to Top Gun
Yeah.
ever. I
Yeah.
just watched a freaking trailer, guys. Like, it's full of, computer stuff, video game stuff, like rock music stuff,
Um.
trailers for Netflix shows, comedians on talk shows. I God help me, like, I happen to think Norm Macdonald is hilarious, but because Norm Macdonald, a lot of his clips are from talk shows,
Yeah.
I get talk show clips all the time.
All the
I
time.
don't like talk shows.
So I'm gonna
You
look.
know,
I'm
I
looking at mine right now. I have a wrestling video.
Yeah.
So I got into this thing where I like any kind of movie or TV show that I like. I like watching people explain it back to me. So there's one that says it's
Okay.
Event Horizon Explained. This guy Film Comics Explained, where he actually sits there and explains the entire storyline of the movie. And I kind of enjoy that because I'm like, huh, I remember that, or I don't remember that, and I didn't pick that up, from 20 years
Right.
ago. Another one is here's how the Dodge Ram is crap. This guy Scotty Kilmer.
Okay.
Kilmer.
Mhm.
Um, I have a lot of like the history of the Honda Accord. I have more wrestling, and then I have a video that says, "What if 2 million people actually stormed Area 51?" as one of my
Yeah. That's one of the
suggestions.
things I wanted to tell you about,
Area
was
51.
the
It's
Area
happening.
51 thing.
It's happening, Paul. We're gonna
No, but
find
there's
the
an
truth.
actually, I hesitate to tell you this, but I can't because I can't find it. But there is, what the guy's name? It's killing me. I can't think of this. There is a,
Bob
I gotta
Lazar.
find this. Thank you.
There you go.
So here's the thing. Here's Bob Lazar. There's a new Bob Lazar documentary on Netflix. Did you
Yes,
know
I
this?
saw it. I
Okay.
did see it.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna say this.
Okay.
Virtually everything like that is Loch Ness Monster, the Yeti, the Sasquatch, whatever, is all complete bull crap. It's just all of it is nonsense. Um, I in my life, I have had at least a couple of like actual like real UFO type sightings,
So,
including
for
a
people who don't
famous
know, you were there for the
incident.
Phoenix Lights.
Right. Yeah. My wife and I were out on a golf course with the guy teaching us how to play golf. We all went, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people. It was videotaped. It was on the news. It happened. It blocked out the sky. It was triangle shaped. It was flying in formation. I mean, whatever. Okay. That has nothing to do with the fact that if you go back in time, like to the 1980s, for all of the beyond and back nonsense, the Sasquatch stuff, the whatever, the one guy, the one incident, the one thing that I always found credible in all of this stuff was Bob Lazar.
Okay.
And you can look him up if you don't know who he is, but he was like the one guy. He came out of Area 51. He's like, yeah, I worked there. We were working on alien technology. This is what we did, and his story is incredible.
Yes.
So flash forward, what is it, 30 years now? 40 years, 30 years. The Netflix went and found the guy, and basically what happened was there were all these attempts to debunk him. Like, he supposedly never worked at wherever he said he worked. He
And they
supposedly
found that he
didn't have
did.
degrees from these schools. They found all this evidence. Like, this guy, they basically proved that everything he said is true.
Okay.
Like,
So,
everything they could prove.
I've
It's
been I've
incredible.
been I was given a tape. I had an uncle that was very much into this stuff. He was
Yeah,
very deep in the Nostradamus videos from the
that's
80s.
okay. See this again, not
Like he
complete
was really into.
nonsense. Yep.
So he also was really big on the UFO phenomenon and everything. So
Hmm.
I had a tape of Bob Lazar like in like a classroom doing like a demo. So I've
Yeah,
known about Bob Lazar for a long time, and all those guys, John Lear, Bob Lazar, George, whatever that whole crew of his. So I watched his interview with Joe Rogan first. And I have to tell you, Bob Lazar comes off, and we've gone totally off, but I find this so fascinating to talk to you about
yep,
this. I find Bob Lazar to be a very believable person.
yeah.
He
Completely
doesn't
credible.
come off
He's completely credible.
he comes off completely credible. He
Yeah,
comes off very believable with no agenda.
right.
He's not a personality. Like I always think if I put myself in that situation, right? Like,
Yep.
I was asking my wife because we watched this whole thing. I said, if I came out on the air today and I said,
Hmm.
I experienced this, I saw what's going on,
Sure.
I was here, I was there. I guarantee you, even if I'm 100% truthful, I would be. Most people would think I'm full of shit because I'm I do this, I do entertainment, I'm lively, I'm a character, I'm
Yeah.
very
Right.
loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Bob
Yeah.
does not come off. He comes off as a regular guy. So I watched a Joe
Well,
Rogan
as a
interview.
regular genius science guy,
Comes off as a
like,
regular, yeah,
I
a
mean,
genius
he's,
guy. He's
I just
talking
want
about
look the point
element
for
one
me
one
the point
five.
of this the point that I want to make for people to understand is I don't believe in any conspiracy theories of any kind. They're all nonsense, and I enjoy them only to the sense that I just enjoy watching them all get debunked. Like all of this, the JFK stuff that was multiple gunmen and all and on it goes. It's all complete nonsense. This is the one thing, and I mean like the
You believe
one thing
this?
in my entire life where this UFO stuff should be explainable. It should be whatever it is. And this guy, I can't speak to the rest of it, but he is the most credible witness account.
So,
It's
would you
this is
like me to
something
burst your
about it.
bubble? Would you like me to burst your bubble?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the other night, I watched the documentary. I thought it was you know who does the voiceover? Who does the
I don't
narrative?
know.
Storytelling.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
oh god, the guy in the wrestler. Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. Oh,
Mickey
jeez, I didn't even
Rourke does
realize
the
that.
voice.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one telling
Yep.
the story. So, I watched the documentary. It was fine.
Hmm.
Uh, I I lock myself in my office and I go, I need to get to the bottom of this.
Oh my God.
I want to believe. No, no, no.
If
I
you're going
want
to
to
tell me
believe
that
him.
you went on the internet and now you're like, now he's not, I'm sorry,
No,
that's not.
I did all the
That's
homework. So there's
okay.
a lot of gaps in the story, and there's a lot of things that were, and I want to believe Bob Lazar. So there's a
Andrew,
lot
I
of gaps.
don't
Like
want to believe
I
Bob
do want to
Lazar.
believe
That's
him.
the
I
point.
do.
I find him to be believable.
I I find it to be believable, and then I did my research. So we could talk about
No,
this for
no,
hours.
no, no, no.
I'm gonna
There's
tell
no
you.
internet research you can do now that
So
that's nonsense.
where
You
the
can find
story
out
throws me
anything
off.
on the internet, Andrew. No, I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no. This is
That's
where I'm
not
going to tell you where it throws me off. The
okay.
story of where he met people and who he
Hmm.
met and how he met them in the 80s is not accurate. He,
Oh,
like John
jeez.
Lear and these guys, he's known these guys for a while. He's known them for a longer time. I'm not saying that throws off the whole story, but
I
there's a couple holes in the story.
oh, okay.
And
And Andrew, yes, it was 40 years ago. Listen, I I
I know
think
you
the
want to
important thing
believe.
is if someone is interested in this, watch the documentary. And the
Yeah, watch
interesting
it.
thing about it is the sheer number of things that people thought they had debunked about this guy in the past, and they were like, "No, actually, here's a picture of him at a work event at the place that that company said he never worked at. Here's his name in a list of people who went to this school where this school said he had never gone to this school." Like, there's a I find it I just find it really interesting. Like his story has only been bolstered by this thing.
No, absolutely. I
That's
find
all.
it very interesting. The fact that he discussed element 115
Yeah.
30 years
The
ago.
government said didn't exist, and then they
Scientists said it
applied
didn't
for a
exist.
patent that used
Yeah.
that exact name.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I mean, it's incredible.
I find his story very believable. It's probably the most credible I guess alientologist, what are they called? Whatever they are.
The paleontologist.
Whatever he would be, UFOologist, whatever
You
he
would
would be.
not a cosmologist? Oh no, that's someone
I
who
want to
does your
I
nails
want to be
or something.
I want to be an alientologist.
An aleontologist. I want to, yeah, like a
I
cryptozoologist.
just watch it, and
Yeah.
I've been following this guy for 2 decades now. I'm
Well,
very
I
into this
so
stuff. I was
he
going on
was
those forums and
I don't remember
everything.
what the deal was. I don't know how you would have seen this, but in the late 80s, he was the biggest thing in the world when it came to UFOs.
Oh, I know, I
And
know.
then yeah, he dropped off the face of the planet.
Listen, Paul, I could talk to you about this for hours. I have theories. I
Okay.
know
But
things.
see, again, I honestly, all I can look. I have that one major sighting. I have others, but in my life, but this was the big one with other people, with the entire city of Phoenix. This is documented. It's a fact. You can look it up. This footage of it. There are Air Force bases near Phoenix. Almost certainly, this was like a governmental, military something something, whatever it was. But it was, a widespread, you know,
Yeah.
sighting, and I was part of it. And so, but that was much later in life. I mean, I growing up as a kid, I wanted all that stuff. You know, the Sasquatch footprints and that video of the guy in the monkey suit
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the little ducky thing that was supposed to be the Loch Ness monster, whatever. I wanted all of that stuff to be real. All of it, you know. Um, but it's not. All of it is nonsense. All of it,
Paul Thurrott,
complete
Ian
nonsense.
Gazarian, UFO Hunters. This season
UFO
on
hunters.
History Channel.
UFOs might be the one thing. You know, that
Yeah,
might be the
maybe.
one thing.
I want to talk to you about this more. I'm gonna get so many comments saying what happened to talking about the Apple Card.
I know. I
I
know.
want to talk to you about this actually because
Yeah.
I don't remember what your opinion of the Apple Card was.
Yep. I think it's
Wh-
an awesome idea.
You think it's an awesome
Uh,
idea? Okay,
yeah.
I was crapping on this. I take it
Yes.
back now. I take it back
Okay. Why?
because I do you use
Because of Bob
Venmo
Lazar? Is it
because
the
of Bob
alien thing?
Lazar? Yeah,
Because
Bob
it's alien
Lazar.
technology? It's alien technology, isn't it?
Listen, how about that fingerprint thing? Let's talk about that. The
Right, right.
fingerprint thing. The bone
Right.
measurement.
By the way, another one. That's what I'm talking about. There was a long list of stuff that he said 30 years ago, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's full of
Yeah.
crap," and blah blah blah. They found photos of it.
Yeah.
He described like a hand scanner, like you have in a movie.
And
You
it
know,
is the
you
most
can get into it.
archaic looking hand
Yes,
scanner
but
by
it was
today's
from the
standards.
70s or the 80s or
Yeah.
whatever. That's
Uh
incredible. Anyway, sorry.
so the I was like, you know what? I don't know who would use this. Why would they use it? You know, that I was going through that process. So I
Hmm.
don't do you use Venmo ever?
Yeah.
Okay. I love Venmo.
What's
If
the
I'm
other one?
out
There's Venmo and there's another app just like it.
Apple
No.
just
Well, I know
transferring it over.
PayPal and all that, but no, but
Yeah.
there's another Venmo type modern app.
I forgot the name.
I can't
Whatever
remember
it is.
either. But
I
we
tend to use
send money to
Venmo.
the kids and
Yeah, I use it with all my drinking friends because somebody always picks up the bill rather than splitting
there you
it.
go. Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
great.
listen, do me a favor. I'm gonna Venmo you. You pay, and they're like, okay, no problem. So
Yep.
Venmo rolled out a Venmo card. I have it
Hmm.
here actually. Um, I have this. There you go. It's a Venmo card.
Yep.
So you could use it just like a debit card. It's like a PayPal card, same exact thing.
Hmm.
Uh, I went out a couple weeks ago, and the bill was like $400. It was a bunch of us. I was like, don't worry,
Yep.
I'll pay it. So they all gave me the money, and I totally forgot about it. And I didn't. I didn't have any.
When you say they all gave you the money,
We
do
all
you mean
split
they
the.
actually gave you cash?
No, no, no. They Venmoed me.
Okay,
Everybody
because a lot
Venmoed
of
me.
times what you don't want is a bunch of cash.
No, no, no. I don't want that
This is how
because I'll
my
blow
my
through it.
friends back in Dedham would do this. One of us would pick up the bill at the Chinese restaurant, and the other two idiots would have like mountains of cash,
Yeah.
which is like the last thing I want in my pocket.
You know, because that was always the thinking, right? You always brought cash if it was a group thing that you thought you would split it, but now it's totally unnecessary.
Yeah, well, no,
You're just
unnecessary. It's
hoping.
worse than unnecessary.
You're
It's
just
completely
hoping
unwelcome.
your friends aren't deadbeats and they haven't maxed out their credit cards, and
Yeah,
then they're
yeah,
spending the $500 bill. So
yeah. It's not the
I
1700s, you know.
so everybody Venmoed me and I just put it on my card because I'm like I'm gonna get
Hmm.
points for this, so let me do it.
Hmm.
I totally forgot about this. It was sitting there, and I got this card. I'm like, you know what? I'm going shopping anyway. I just
Hmm.
use this to pay for stuff. I was like,
Okay,
huh, that Apple Card kind of makes sense. This is
right,
what they're trying to do.
right,
Unfortunately, I don't know if people are transferring money amongst friends through their Apple payment system,
right.
which it would make a lot of sense because it's internally within the messaging app. You don't
Hmm.
have to, it just,
I
I
listen.
don't,
I think that is going to happen. This is going to be a very healthy thing. Healthy. I'm sorry, healthy financially for Apple. I mean, not healthy for people, but I think that's going to be a very popular use. And this is a good example of Apple. I don't mean this in a totally horrible way, but taking advantage of the user base that they have in a way that makes sense for everybody. Um, you know, the Apple Card from like a points perspective probably is only going to make sense for people who buy a lot of Apple stuff.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's where you're going to get the points. My wife and I have a couple of different cards we use for specific things because the points make sense, for one card for travel or restaurants, whatever it might be. This will serve that purpose for a pretty big audience.
Also, Apple is no longer the most cash-rich company in the world.
Really?
They got surpassed by Google.
What?
Yeah,
Google has more cash?
yeah. It's Apple holdings of cash, and marketable securities, net debt has
Hmm.
fallen to 102 billion, down from its peak 163. At the
Okay.
end of 2017, Alphabet Financial Reserve has been moved in the opposite direction at
Yeah.
117 billion in its cash pile. They've raised almost 20 billion over the same period.
But what did Apple spend $60 billion on?
I don't know.
Stock buybacks? Like, what are we talking
I don't
about?
know. Apple was able to take a large chunk of the overseas cash thanks to one-time corporate tax break offerings. The company had a chance to bring foreign cash back in the U.S. and pay just 15.5 tax instead of 35%. I don't know. This article is not saying it, but that is interesting that Google has passed them as far as how much cash they have.
I did not hear this.
That's it. The company's falling apart. It's
Is
over.
this on your conspiracy theory website,
Yeah,
or
I'm
are
on
we
I'm
back
on
to
above
actual
top
science and
secret.
math now?
No, I'm on abovetopsecret.com, which is a
Yeah,
conspiracy forum.
AlexJones.com is telling you that Apple
Ladies
doesn't
and
have enough
gentlemen,
money.
there's fluoride in the water. Um,
Sure.
there is fluoride in the water to
They
keep our
better
teeth
be.
healthy. They better be.
Otherwise, you'd have all kinds of cavities.
You're not
Just
taking your super male vitality, Paul, sold by
my
Alex Jones
super.
on Infowars.com.
Just,
See, now I
uh,
mentioned his name, and now
yeah.
this video is gonna
Now
get
we're gonna get banned from
demonetized.
YouTube and
Yeah, I'm not. I'm talking about Alex Jones, the accountant that lives
right,
on
right.
216th
Oh,
Street in Queens.
it's yeah. It's Alex Jones. It's a woman for one thing, and
Yeah,
she's
it's a
very
woman.
nice.
She's a very nice woman.
She's not a racist or
Does my
anything. She's really nice.
taxes. She's a very sweet
Yep.
woman.
Mhm.
Also, we didn't get a chance, and I want to talk about this. We were recording
Mhm.
last week, and by the way, I'm having so much fun doing this with you right now. I really am.
This is the
Uh,
all over the map
all
episode.
over the map episode. I like this.
But seriously, Bob Lazar. I mean,
We're gonna talk about Bob Lazar. Wait till the end. I want to talk about him. Apple's planning on buying Intel's modem business. Was there, since the last attempt to record, was there any kind of progress with this story?
it happened. They
It
did buy it.
happened. Yeah. Okay. They did
Yeah.
buy it from them because it was still
Yeah.
in the notes. So here's the interesting thing. This is the further proof that Apple is their goal is to not
Yeah.
rely on anybody. Their
Right.
goal is
Right.
to.
And so, if Qualcomm is happy with their status as a supplier to Apple again, I mean, congratulations. But I can assure you, the clock is ticking, and so it may be 2 years, maybe three. I don't know, but that's your time limit. And once Apple gets that thing going and
When does
it's
Apple? When does
acceptable
Apple ditch
performance,
Intel? When do they start ditching Intel on their desktop
uh,
or
well,
I should
actually, I
say
think this
mobile?
is it, right? Because Intel's pretty much out of the picture now.
No, no, I'm saying for processors and things like that. When
Oh,
do
you
they
mean on the
start?
Mac?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's gonna happen too. I mean, they can't do it on high-end machines, obviously. People who are gamers, developers, graphic designers, probably. That's gonna be the sticking point. But yeah, that's gonna happen too. There's no
Well,
doubt about it.
this is, I mean, we keep talking about Windows Lite and a
Hmm.
lighter version of Windows on a Surface device that's
Yep.
inexpensive and things like that. We never even have discussed, and I don't hear a lot of people discussing that MacBook that's dead now.
Yeah.
Apple could very easily have a MacBook that's running on their own chipset, their
Yep.
own processor, their own video graphics,
Yep.
and it runs iOS apps, and those are your applications.
Yeah, and when you right, so whether you're talking about Apple and the system you just described, or Microsoft and some kind of light OS thing, where the majority of the stuff is this kind of newer, modern, apps and not the legacy stuff. But you can run legacy Mac apps in this case, or legacy Windows desktop apps, let's say on the other thing, um, in emulation maybe, or through some kind of container slash virtualization
In in,
solution,
in what
whatever it is.
scenario? In what scenario?
Well, the idea is most people can get most of what they need to get done with the new stuff, but
Yeah.
there's always this one thing that people might need, right? That the backward compatibility stuff will kick in. And so Apple is actually better poised for this world because most of their users don't need that one legacy app, you know?
Yeah, I
They're
mean
going to be happy with the new stuff.
their goals by
Um,
2021 have a unified application running on phone, iPads, and Mac. I mean that's their
yeah,
long
yeah, yeah.
that's
And
been
I
their long-term goal.
that's how they make the transition. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they're going to be successful doing that.
Because I'm looking at the applications that I use on my Mac, right? And
Hmm.
I'm a power user. Essentially everything is done in the browser, which I'm using Chrome.
Yeah.
Um, I Twitter has killed the API and the functionality of using third-party Twitter applications. They don't
Yep.
want you using an app. They don't even supply you with an app. Spotify The
Well,
mail app,
actually, they're going to soon, Andrew. It's gonna be the iOS app.
it's going to be
That's
the
gonna be the
iOS
Mac
app.
app.
Yeah, that's going to be the Mac app,
Yep.
which fine. I know a lot of people are not happy with that, but whatever. Firefox,
Yep.
which I don't really use, all these applications could be within the Mac app. Every single one of these. I use.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I do want to mention. Do you know I'm forced to use Outlook now
Oh god.
for my mail? I have to copy and paste a Excel spreadsheet in an email every week,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
cannot do that within the Mac Mail app, the
Right.
Apple Mail app. I
You
only
might want
way
to
that it converts to cells properly is with Outlook.
Outlook on the web or Outlook on
Outlook
the Windows.
Outlook on the application on the Mac.
Outlook, the Office app.
Yes,
Oh, that one's actually
Office
not
Outlook.
too bad. The one on Windows is terrible.
I actually really like Outlook. I actually like
Yeah.
it better than the Mac app as far as,
Yeah.
just
Oh,
doing
yeah,
my
yeah,
emails
yeah.
and
No, on the
everything.
Mac, it's actually a nice app.
It's a beautiful app. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, on
But
Windows, it is the worst app ever created in the history of mankind.
why is it different on Windows than it is? I have yet to
It's all
use it.
first of all, it's well, I mean, the Windows version of Outlook, it predates Outlook, right? It goes back to this thing called Schedule Plus. It was like a legacy kind of work group application based around scheduling from the, I don't know, probably early 1990s, whatever. They added MAPI email support
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for Exchange or whatever it was at the time, and the internet was happening, and then they finally added internet support, internet email support. But it's garbage. Like it's just garbage. It's like this giant, humongous, complicated application. It's just terrible.
It's not bad on the Mac. I actually
Right, because it's
I,
a new app. Relatively
yeah.
speaking, it's like
Yeah,
it's not bad.
relatively
Yeah.
speaking, and it's
Yep.
kind of modeled. It's almost very similar to the Mac app. Just way more for a
Okay.
power user.
Yeah, I'm not
So,
that super familiar with that, but
Paul,
yeah.
are you telling me I don't have to splice my PST files when they get too big? Is that what you're
I used
telling
to
me?
download backup PST files to a floppy,
I have
many, many years ago.
I have zip drives of PST files.
Yeah, yeah, and then zip drives. Yeah, sure.
They're all upstairs. I actually
Yep,
have them. PST1 backup, PST2 backup,
yep,
PS3 backup, merge. That was telling me to combine those PSTs into one mega
yeah.
PST. And that's how I would do it.
No, I
Um,
sadly remember those days.
so, but to kind of get back to it, on the
Mhm.
Mac, if you want to test this and you want to see if there's success with this, I would do it on that entry level Mac, make it super thin, put your own, a whatever processor in there, whatever they're gonna call it.
Mm.
Just have it specifically Mac opt, and you know what? They may have way better performance because it would be optimized for their own chips.
Well, I still think they have to run Mac stuff, right? And so I think that the story is going to be like, look, for most of what you do, you're going to want to run these iOS apps, and they're going to run full speed. It's going to be amazing. And in fact, just the addition of a pointer and a full hardware keyboard is going to transform these apps for many people, right? That's going to be neat. But I'm trying to think of an example, like maybe like a Photoshop Elements type thing, or
Yeah,
Xcode, or whatever. I
yeah, but are
guess if
you
you're running
doing that?
Xcode, you're going to be running
Yeah,
a
you're gonna be
workstation.
running on
But
a Pro. Yeah, you're not gonna be doing
no,
it
but
on
I mean,
a.
Photoshop Elements is kind of a consumer app, and it's kind of a big, heavy native Mac app. I mean, it may not run as fast. It won't run as fast, I'm sure, on these A series chips. But if it runs at all, that's a win.
Yeah,
As long as it runs, if you need that thing, you have some goofy, Mac app that I'm not aware of, BB Edit or some, whatever it is. Um, you as long as that thing runs, right? It's good, and then
yeah,
all the new stuff will run great.
yeah.
So
I mean, I actually I don't think it's a bad thing if that's what they're doing.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think so. I think it could possibly work, and they won't have the same headache. I mean, we constantly compare it to Windows and how it is for them. We won't have the same headache that Windows has on the
No,
Mac side
no,
because
because the difference is they have a successful app platform
yeah,
that has millions and millions of apps that people
eh,
want to use. Now,
yeah,
they won't all work, day one, but um, and in many cases, especially again, they're in better position than Google is. I mean, those apps have already been tailored for the iPad and the bigger screen, and the iPad Pro in many cases, and its bigger screen. Um, I this could happen very easily.
we'll see what happens. I'm very
Yeah,
curious about
I
this.
think they're in a good place for that kind of thing.
Do you have 10 minutes to talk about Bob Lazar on the bonus show?
Well, maybe. I don't know if I
Okay.
can talk about Bob Lazar for 10 minutes,
Oh,
but
we are going to talk about Bob Lazar for 10
gotcha.
minutes. Guys, go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. Next week, are you still with us?
I will be on Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday then. We will
Yeah.
record on
Thursday is
Tuesday.
the day we fly home.
Yeah, I promise we'll stick to our schedule. I was just so excited to talk to Bob, to talk to Paul about Bob.
To talk to Bob Lazar, yeah.
But you know what? That is on my interview list. That's always been one of the guys I want to interview.
The truth is, like, this guy doesn't want to talk about this. Like, which, further adds credibility to his
Maybe.
story. Just doesn't
So
really
what we're
care.
gonna do? We're
Okay.
wrapping the show up. We're gonna talk about all the UFO nonsense that we babbled about for the next 10 minutes on our bonus show. You could get access to it by going to patreon.com/whatthetech and watching us there. Patreon.com/whatthetech. Fund us as little as $1 per episode, and you get access to the bonus shows. I think this is going to be a fun discussion. You can check out Paul at therot.com. Follow me at Andrew Zarian, and we'll see you all next time.